Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be doing another top 10 and this is going to be 10 horror movies under 90 minutes. Now the reason I say that is because I hear a lot of people say, oh, isn't it the sweet spot, 90 minutes, and movies are too long these days, there's no need for movies to be 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I agree to it at a point. I mean, I love watching a movie that absolutely flies by and, gives you a lot within that time limit and doesn't drag, and it's very nicely paced, of course. So I just thought, why not, I don't mind long movies either, but they've got to justify that runtime, of course. But here, I just thought I'd pick 10 movies that are really fun to watch, and you can just basically watch them, be done with it, and have fun. Now, I am going to go in order of the time that these movies are on for. So the top movie starts at 88 minutes and then we'll go further down. So the next movie might be 86 minutes and then 83 minutes. You get the gist. It's not in order of quality, basically. It's order of running time. So I hope all that makes sense. And just a heads up, guys, by the way, I've only done 10 here, but I've came up with about 30 movies. So if you guys would like another one of these videos, like a sequel to this, or maybe even 2 more, please do let me know if this is your sort of thing, and I'll get another one going. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 on 88 minutes, we do have Cobweb from last year, I believe, 2023. And I didn't hear too many people talk about this one, but I thought this was a really interesting little horror gem. Kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm pretty sure this all takes place around Halloween. But this sees 2 very strict parents played by Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr, and they've got this young boy played by Woody Norman, who they don't really want to have any friends, socialize, go out. They're very strict with him and keep him sort of in the home all the time. And this young boy can hear knocks inside the wall and voices around the house. And he questions his parents about it, and they kind of just brush it off and say, oh, you're just imagining things and stuff. As we delve a little bit deeper into the story, we learn that there may be a sinister past in this house and between these 2 parents. And it's just a very interesting film, and you kind of really want to know where it goes to. But I think there's some great performances in this movie. The young boy played by Woody Norman was great, but Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan are really a couple that put you on edge. There is one moment where this young boy's teacher comes to the house to ask some questions, and you're just on the edge of your seat the entire time because it is so uncomfortable what's happening between these 3 characters. But yeah, it's got a great little third act, I think. I really enjoyed this one. I think you should definitely check it out. So that is Cobweb. Coming in on 87 minutes is The Last Exorcism. Now, this is a found footage movie about a priest who pretends to do these exorcisms. And he believes that when this fake exorcism has been performed on someone who is possessed, that they will feel better because it's all in their mind anyway. And so far, it's been successful. I mean, he hasn't really had anyone complain. He's getting paid for it, and he just lets this documentary crew follow him around doing this thing. And he does an exorcism on this girl. He's called to the outback of America, and this little hillbilly family, I think, they believe their daughter is basically possessed, and he performs this exorcism, and they all think it's okay, and then they go and stay in a hotel for the night because they're very far out, and that night, the young girl turns up at the hotel, still sort of possessed. So this might actually be a real possession. And I won't say too much more than that, but it's a really creepy film, really clever found footage movie, and I've seen it quite a few times now. So yeah, I think this one is definitely worth checking out. Interesting movie for sure. Next up, we have Dark Glasses, a very recent Dario Argento movie, and I'm not sure many of you may have seen this, but he is the Italian master of horror, really, isn't he? So I think I just put it on your radar because I didn't remember too much noise about this one here in the UK, and a lot of people are Dario Argento fans, aren't they? I mean, he's made some great movies from the ones that I've seen, and this one is pretty good as well. You can tell there's definitely a little less of a budget here, and it's a little bit more straightforward, but this sees a high-end prostitute woman who is having a serial killer going around killing these prostitutes, and he is in pursuit of her. And as she's getting away, she ends up in this car crash and she becomes blind, and she kills this family, but the young boy of the family survives, and he teams up with her to help track down this serial killer. And yeah, it's just a very little interesting giallo. Dario Argento sprinkles all his little giallo magic in there, you know, seeing the camera come behind the killer and stuff, you know, as you do. The black gloves and all that giallo goodness in there. And yeah, it was just a pretty decent film, I thought. So definitely one worth checking out. That is Dark Glasses. Next up on 83 Minutes, we have Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And this stars Michael Rooker in one of his very early roles. It may have even been his debut role. I'm not quite sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But he is basically an active serial killer. And he lives with his old cellmate, Otis, and Otis's sister in this little apartment. And he's going around killing these women. And Otis catches on to this and says, I want to team up with you. And basically they go around on a killing spree, killing all sorts of people. There's one moment in this movie, I think they kill a family or something, and it's really hard to watch. So if you're squeamish or you don't like disturbing scenes, maybe give this one a miss. But I thought I'd throw something really grimy and sinister in here. Why not? Because we all like different types of horror films, don't we? And this is based on two real-life serial killers, Henry Lee Lucas and Otis. I forget the name, I'm very sorry, but this one actually did happen. So yeah, it's a pretty decent movie. Just one for the disturbing fans out there, I suppose. So that is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Next up, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, my favourite horror movie of all time. I had to throw it in there on 83 Minutes. And I don't know if it's the runtime that makes me return to this movie all the time, but I constantly rewatch this film. I went to see it on the cinema last year. I watched it twice this year. I just absolutely love it. And this sees a group of teenagers go to the outback of Texas looking for their old relative's house, and they encounter Leatherface and the Sawyer family, basically, who are a bunch of cannibals living in the outback. And this is all based on the true story, another one, of the case of Ed Gein. And what I like about this movie is the way Tobe Hooper directs it, of course, but it just feels very real. You would not put past anyone living in the outback of Texas in this little secluded spot cutting people up now, would you? You just wouldn't. And there's some real gritty scenes in here. I mean, he puts a woman on a hook, for God's sake. I mean, it's not violent or anything like that. I mean, there's not much gore here. It's what you don't see that really gets in your head. Great final girl in Sally Hardesty. Leatherface, iconic, wearing people's faces for a mask. I mean, I always struggle with my favourite movies because there's so much to say and I never know where to start. But I'm sure you've all heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had to be on this list, of course. Next up on 82 Minutes, we do have a video nasty here, Don't Go in the House. Now, this is an interesting movie because I didn't hold too much hope when I first went into this. A lot of video nasties are kind of cheaply made, not really fun to watch. I mean, there's quite a few that are fun to watch, of course, but I never hold up much hope for them. And this one is very low budget, but you know what? It's one of the better ones I've seen. This follows a character named Donnie. It's kind of a character study, really. And he is always getting asked to go for drinks after work and stuff. The people in his work are always asking him to do things. And he seems like a very normal individual. But deep behind his background, he's a little mummy's boy there who was sort of bullied by his mum in the past. And this all had an effect on him and stuff. And what he does, he takes women home, gets his sort of flame retardant suit on, and flamethrowers these women in his basement. I mean, there's not much more to it than that. I mean, it's not a very deep character study like something like Taxi Driver or Joker or anything like that, so don't expect anything too ambitious. But I don't know, it kind of gave me the feelings of Maniac or sort of Psycho a little bit there. You know, I just thought it was an interesting movie, and Donnie is a really, I wouldn't say a good character because he's an evil motherfucker, but he's interesting to follow around, let's put it that way. And this movie, I remember, even though it is on a list of movies that are flying by, it did actually fly by. I mean, this was over in no time, but I had a lot of fun with it. So that is Don't Go in the House. Next up on 82 minutes, we do have Mike Flanagan's Hush. Now, this sees his wife, Kate Siegel, who plays this deaf woman, and I think she's a writer, and she's just sitting at home, and this masked intruder comes to her property and tries to break in. And it's got a really creepy mask, by the way. And with her being deaf, just adds a whole new dynamic to it. It adds a lot more creepiness, where this guy is sort of playing games with her, really, when he realizes she's deaf. And it's just basically her against him. There are other characters in the movie, and there are some death scenes here with some good blood and gore. But the whole time, you're just basically glued to this, because you're like, man, don't let this motherfucker in. So yeah, it's a great little home invasion movie. Mike Flanagan is such a good director, and this is another little gem from him as well. I only watched this for the first time last month after it disappearing off Netflix, and there was all this controversy, like, how are we meant to watch Hush? It's nowhere. But we are getting a 4K release now, and it has actually just dropped on Shudder, so that's where I checked it out. So if you haven't seen this one, or it got lost after it went to Netflix and you hadn't seen it, now you can. So that is Hush. Next up, we have on 80 minutes, Devil. Now, this was actually written by M. Night Shyamalan. I think a lot of people think that he may have directed this movie because his name's all over it, but no, he just wrote it, and because he's hot shit, or he was at the time, they put his name on the title, but they basically just took that and made it into a movie. And this sees these 5 strangers all in a elevator, or a lift shaft, whatever you want to call it, in this skyscraper, and they get trapped inside. And every time the lights go out, they can't see anything, of course, and when they come back on, someone in the elevator has died. And this happens like every time, and someone else will die. And the whole reason for this is someone in the elevator is actually the devil in disguise. Can you believe that? And I just remember being fully invested in this movie. I really wanted to know what was going to happen. And I didn't even guess the ending. And there's only 5 people to pick from, but I didn't even really see it coming at all. Critics actually slammed this film for having a short runtime. They liked the movie, but a lot of them said it was too short. I think it was the perfect runtime, to be honest. I really enjoyed this one. It's more of a thriller, really. I may have cheated a little bit there, but people may call it horror. The devil is in it, of course. But yeah, very interesting movie, all in the one location, really. And if you like them type of films, definitely check out Devil. Next up on 78 minutes, we do have Wreck, another found footage movie. And this sees a camera crew follow around this bunch of firefighters in a city in Spain. I think it's Barcelona. And they get called to this apartment block where something has happened there. And they think it's just a normal call out, but really there's been a virus or a zombie sort of infestation in there. And all hell just breaks loose, basically, and they can't really come out of this apartment because it starts to get quarantined and stuff, and we just see mayhem ensue in this apartment. And I just think it's a really well done found footage movie. I did like it a lot more the first time I watched it, because the second time there is a little bit of screaming going on towards the end of the movie that is a little bit too much and a little bit grating on you. But apart from that, there's some excellent shots here, some really what the fuck moments, some moments where I jumped out my skin. You know, these infected people look awesome and stuff. And it's a found footage movie done right. It's one of the best found footage movies ever made, really. We did get a remake called Quarantine, but I've only seen this one. So yeah, definitely check it out. Wreck is awesome. Coming in first place, though, is the shortest horror movie that I could really think of. I'm sure there's more out there. Please do let me know if there is. This is on 57 minutes, and this is Host. And this was one of my favourite movies from 2020. I remember this came out in the middle of lockdown, and this felt like something that everyone was doing at the time, because this is all on a voice call, like a Skype sort of, or Zoom, is it? Call with these 5 friends. And a lot of people were doing that at the time, doing quizzes and stuff, weren't they? Because they weren't allowed out the house. Man, when I think back to that, it was just a crazy time. But anyway, these group of friends decide to do a seance online, and they call in this woman who's basically does them for people. She's like, that's her business. And when they do it, all hell breaks loose and people are starting to die on camera and stuff like that. Now it's all done from the laptop, like kind of like the movie Unfriended or Missing or Searching. You get the drift. And I think these movies are very, very clever. I like watching these films that all take place on the laptop. I just think there's something about them. It's a different way of doing found footage. And for me, they've worked. Each one I've watched them that have done this have worked for me. Yes, I like Unfriended. I like Missing. So this one definitely worked for me, and it absolutely, obviously flew by. I couldn't believe that it was one of the best horror movies of that year, but it was 57 minutes long. The only problem I have is one character who kind of grated on me, but apart from that, it's a pretty solid movie, and kudos to the directors and the crew for thinking of this idea and putting it out there. I'm sure it got made within 2 weeks or something, which is just phenomenal. So number one is Host. Okay guys, what did you think of these movies? If you've got any short run times under 90 minutes, please do let me know in the comments down below. Do you want another one of these videos? Please let me know. It would be great because I've come up with plenty more. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It would really help me out. Thanks so much guys. You take care and I'll see you all in the next video.